Welcome to day 3 of the 4-day content development plan. This is a 4-part series, and this is where I break down your content strategy all the way to getting the right resources, then establishing your publishing calendar. I'm Janet Bartoli from Expert SEO Masterclass and the Bartoli Consulting Group. I teach and consult on SEO management. Now let's get into day 3. What resources will you need, and what tools should you actually use? Well, let's actually allocate some resources because I've seen time and time again so many clients and so many other SEOs who just really overlook the small details that goes into actually getting this whole thing to work. Number one, who is in charge of producing and maintaining the content? Don't assume there's somebody in your team or the client might have someone. Generally speaking, that isn't the case because in most cases, when you're talking about a content strategy, it is often overlooked when we think about who it is we actually need to be creating this kind of content. Number two, what human, physical, or digital tools will you need to create that content? Well, at first we have to think about the kind of content that we're talking about. Is it podcasting? Is it a video? Is it straight content? Is it an infographic? All of those are going to require a different set of resources or tools to create that content. Number three, how much budget do you have set aside for this? Because believe it or not, you actually do need some kind of budget. Now, it may not necessitate a ton of money, but you need something, of course. Now, who's in charge? It depends on the size of your business, of course. Anything being done either in your own team or in-house, maybe you need to go acquire that kind of support. But it really comes down to who is this person going to be? Now, there should be some sort of a process to all of this. Number one, is it the the CEO or the CMO who has final approval over the content and the actual strategy? That needs to be understood and it needs to be determined. Who is going to make the final approval in terms of what gets actually published? And maybe even what kind of content gets published over the course of time. Next, your content marketing manager is in charge of delivering the strategy. Maybe you don't have a content marketing strategy or content marketing person. You might actually need to go find that content marketing person. That person might be somebody you bring in-house. It might be somebody that you work with as an external consultant. If you're an SEO, it might be somebody in your client's team, or you might have someone in your own agency team that can actually support that. They will be in charge. Maybe, maybe not, but again, you have to identify the roles and responsibilities for each of these people. Will they be in charge of delivering the strategy on a day-to-day basis? Will they work directly or exclusively with the content team? Will they work, hopefully, hand in hand with the SEO team lead? That's ideal, and that's really what should be done. Also, you might need to acquire an external individual to create that kind of content. They should have subject matter expertise on that particular topic. Maybe they are a video producer. Maybe they are somebody who will help support a whole auditing process and then content development based on all the other things that we talked about in the days prior. What tools and resources should you acquire? So first, we got to figure out who the content producers will be. Once you've identified who that is, we then need to figure out, are they going to be in-house content creators? Do we have the right level of resources to really support all of this? If not, we need to go get them. Are they going to be freelancers? Maybe they're going to be external agencies. All of that needs to be determined based on the kind of content that we need to develop. What kind of tools do we need? When it comes to anything related to content auditing or content development, we should always think through our whole SEO program strategy, of course. And so maybe that content marketing manager is working with the SEO team lead and you're using Ahrefs or SEMrush or a similar tool to help with that content auditing, really extracting and understanding where the gaps and the opportunities are when it comes to developing new content. Maybe you're also using it for a greater level of understanding in terms of what kind of content is engaging and is attracting the right kind of targeted audience. Next, what CMS, what content management system will be in use? Is it WordPress? Is it a Shopify site? Is it BigCommerce? Is it something like a one of those third-party hosted Wix things that I never recommend? Is it something like that? Understand what the content management platform is, because that's what we're ultimately going to need access to get our content in place. The other thing you want to consider is if it's other kind of content, whether it's video, podcasting, etc., we need to know who will own those tools. Will it entirely be outsourced? Will this be a team of our own content marketers who will require those kinds of tools or resources? That needs to be determined. Once it's understood, you need to put a plan in place to acquire all of that. Another great freelancer resource, whether you're an SEO team, agency, or if you're in-house and you're trying to acquire a real smart set of content writers, going to contently.com is a great place. They've got journalists, videographers, data storytellers, all kinds of really great content resources that can do just about everything from a content perspective for you. Next, you want to define your content marketing budget, because you do actually need a budget for all of this to work, especially when it comes to your content. You need one for your marketing. You need to think about how your budget will fit and align with your content. You've got to start somewhere. If you have nothing to begin with, you might start with a few $100s a month and then scale it up from there based on the performance and what actually can happen from that. It really should all be factored into your overall SEO program costs. This, generally speaking, should be your overall SEO marketing budget. When we're talking about SEO anyway, we're always talking about content, and this should be a part of that overall budget. Tomorrow, we're talking content workflow and the publishing schedule. We've got to make all of this work. Now that we've got everything in place, we've got the plan in place, we understand what tools and resources we need. Next, we're going to be talking exactly about the workflow and our publishing schedule.